What's going on, guys? Kitchen Sink with another episode. I'm sorry I haven't been putting out any new content recently. Work has just been flipped upside down. It's just been so crazy. But I would love to put out 2 to 3 episodes a week. So today's, topic will be adulting. So we're gonna get into it raw, uncut, unedited, adulting. So at 25, I think I became an adult around the time I got married to my wife, and we've been together for 2.5 years. So I'm going to say at 22, 23 years old, that's when I became a full-on adult, right? So hopefully many of y'all have listened to my other episodes, especially the one on growth where I talk about leaving assets for my kids and everything else. So you're probably wondering, huh? Then you say your daughter is 7 years old. So shouldn't you have been an adult whenever you had a kid? Right? So we're going to go in discussion about that. So whenever I had a kid, I was 18, 19 years old. I found out when I was 18. She had a kid at 19, I believe. Something like that. Maybe my math's wrong. Whatever. I would have to look back at that, right? So yeah. So at that time, I was living with my mom, and my girlfriend at the time was living with my mom too. We were all living there. Long story short, she had the kid, yada yada yada. So I'm at the house, my mom's house, with my girlfriend at the time and my daughter. So, but once I found out that my girlfriend at the time was pregnant, I got a job. I think my first job was installation with air conditionings and stuff. So that was long sleeve shirts in an attic in Houston summer heat. That shit was very, very hot. So I stepped up responsibility wise. I stepped up, hey, I gotta support my family. Yada yada yada. Now I didn't know the whole, I was still young, dumb, full of cum. So, the whole aspect of actually taking care of family. I didn't know that still. I was like, okay, let me get a job, the American dream, whatever else. So I got a job. That was my first job ever, was installation. And I didn't last long because I put a hole in someone's roof and they took my whole paycheck for that. So after that, I went to landscaping and, a lot of other side jobs here and there. So let's get back. So at that time, I was living at home with my mom. My mom was still taking care of it. My mom works for an agency. So a lot of stuff like we got for free, like diapers, we got for free, formula, we got for free majority of the time, diaper wipes. So those are like the huge expenses whenever you have a kid. And, I took advantage of it. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have, but hey, it saved me thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. So there, that's my little mindset. Hey, I have a kid, but hey, my mom has all these, let's say, my mom has all these items that I can use for free to help me save. So that's my mindset right there at, 18, 19 years old, first kid. So later on, let's say, I don't really want to go in detail about that, but later on, my ex and I finally decided to move to a place, right? We moved over there off 290. Anyone knows me off 290 knows that was a whole different story in my life. So we moved into the apartment, and still, my mom's still paying for my car insurance. She's still paying for my phone bill. She's still paying for, copay for medical bills. She's still, paying for groceries. You know what I'm saying? If I ever go to her house, during the weekends after I moved, you know what I'm saying? She was still, fill my car up, which was, 30 something dollars. It was a Ford Focus, right? She was still paying for all that stuff, even though I was living in an apartment. So I was taking care of myself to an extent. I was paying my rent, paying my trash, yada, yada, yada. But my mom was still, even now, I have 2 kids now at the apartment, and my mom's still paying for that stuff, right? So, let's say long story short, we broke up. I found my wonderful, wonderful wife. We got married, and my wife does this like mature thing because she's 36 years old now. She's 36 years old, but 2.5 years ago, you do the math. She does this thing where it's very, very sexy. It's a huge turn on. But like we'll sit down or like she'll be like, "Hey, let's talk," right? Out of nowhere. And then she's a teacher. She has over like 13, 14 years of teaching experience, so like she's a veteran in the teaching world. And she'll do this thing where like she kind of teaches you. She kind of sits down like as a classroom, and then like she's very mature for she's extremely mature. That's exactly what I wanted. So it's a turn on to me. But she had this little sit down, and then we went at it. She was like, "Well, you're 20 some years old. You're married now. You have 2 kids, well, 4 kids, because now she came as a package deal with 2 of her kids. So now I have 4 kids. I'm married. Why is your mom still taking care of you? Practically, like, when are you gonna grow up, right?" And we discussed it, and it wasn't never. My mom never was like, "Hey, when you get this age, like, I'm not gonna take care of you." Like, as of right now, my kids are going to be kicked out at 18 unless they're going to start paying rent. They're going to start getting a job at 16. They're going to save up all the way. They're going to save all that money up to 18, right? And then they're out. Hasta la vista. Unless you're having a job and you're paying rent. But at 18, nah, bye. All right, that's my plan for my kids, all 4 of them. Okay, right. Trust me, I have the years count down. One by one by one, because we have a 4-year-old, we have a 7-year-old, we have an 8-year-old, and we have a 12-year-old. That 12-year-old's creeping up real soon, right? So my mom never was like, "Hey, I really don't want to pay for it anymore." She never brought it up. We never really discussed it at all. So if you don't mind, it don't matter. You're not gonna say anything. So I told my wife, I'm just I was a little nervous, to be honest with you. I've never really taken care of myself fully. I paid my rent at my apartment, but I've never taken care of like my whole aspect fully in my life. So I was like, we'll do it. Dave Ramsey, she put me on to Dave Ramsey pretty quickly. Shout out to Dave Ramsey. If you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, I would definitely start YouTubing him. He is perfect for finances. He has great advice too. Sorry, I'm a little thirsty. Houston kind of got like a cold front going on, so my throat's always dry. But I remember like yesterday, I texted my mom something on the line of, "Thank you for everything you've done. I can't repay you back for all the things that you've done for me. I love you, but I'm a man now. I'm married now. I got all these I got all these kids now. I got all these dogs and these pets, yada yada yada. But you're cut off. I love you, but you're cut off. You are not responsible." I said something along the lines like, "You're not responsible for me. You're cut off. I love you." It's probably more detailed than that, but that's probably what the text said. And my mom sent me something back like, "I love you. Thank you, but I'm your mom. I'm always gonna be responsible for you." Yada yada yada. And I think a few weeks went by, or like I think I saw my mom later that week, and we discussed it more in person. And she was, said that she was proud of me and everything else. Because at the end of the day, it's a huge weight on her. She's responsible for a lot of other people. So for me being the youngest in the family and fully responsible for myself, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. I have one brother and I have 3 sisters. And me being the youngest in the family, taking responsibility of myself, that's a huge thing. So I took pride in that. That made me feel a lot better. I know she never wants to say it, but it's a huge weight off her shoulder. Trust me, she's saving hundreds of dollars, not taking care of me anymore. At all. So that was huge. But once that happened, like my wife and I had to go. I went to T-Mobile. I paid for my phone straight out, paid it all. So I went to T-Mobile. We switched car insurances. Later on, that car, died out and everything else. We had to sell it for parts. But, I bought my first car later on in the year. I think Summer 2017 was probably the best summer I've ever had in my life. And I've always looked back, even now, like I was like, damn, if I can get what I had that year, it'd be different. That summer was all about growth. I got into the best shape of my life physically, mentally. I grew up. It was just financially. I grew up. It was just growth. That whole summer was just the peak that I had, in my life so far. I'm so young, but adulting is hard. You have to deal with a lot of, hidden fees, something they don't teach you about. I wish school would teach people about life after high school. Really, and like you don't even have to go to college. I only went to community college for a few semesters, and the only reason why I did that because I promised my mom on a Christmas card I wrote down that I would try college, give college a try because I knew that she would be proud. But school just hasn't been for me at all. But I would love school to teach you in high school, life after school. These insurances, you can like tips and tricks of how to like ease through adulthood easily. Because once you like, I go to the grocery store now and I don't even buy shredded cheese. I think shredded cheese is like a luxurious item. It's so expensive. And people who, pay for their own groceries, have bills and everything, know exactly what I'm talking about. Shredded cheese is freaking expensive. So I buy the block cheese and I just grade that down into like my fingertips. A lot of things. I don't shop at Target. I have not stepped foot in Target in years. I'm talking 4 or 5 years. I just have not. Walmart is great. Yeah, Walmart and HEB are great. Fiesta's all right. Aldi's is great to like, I like cheap groceries, but my wife cooks a lot, so we don't really eat a lot of stuff out of a box or like, frozen meals. So we always look for like cheap meat. I think Aldi's, like when they first, like my wife and I, long story short, we always used to like, Aldi's opens up at 9. So we'd always be in the parking lot at like 8:40 something and be like one of the first ones. Because they used to have meat for like half price. So it'd be like 99 cents for like a whole pack and stuff. It was crazy. It was crazy. But adulting is hard. And I know a lot of people, older and younger than me. And younger is fine, still living at home. That's cool. Older people too. That's fine. I have nothing, I think if I had no responsibilities, I would still live at home. But if I was living at home, I would be working 2 jobs. I would work in 2 to 3 jobs. The most jobs I ever worked at one time was 3 jobs in my life. But if I was working at home, I'd still be paying for like all my groceries and stuff. I don't know if I'd probably work out a deal with my mom about, paying rent or stuff like that. But I would still be saving up every little penny. And by the time I wanted to move out, let's say at 30, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying right now, if I moved out, if I had the world ended or whatever, I had no responsibilities for the next 10 years, I'd move back, work out a deal with my mom, still work my 9 to 5, probably work an overtime job, and then I would get an online income too. So I'm making a shit ton of money and save up. So I understand that, but I don't understand people who, have no responsibilities, but also aren't doing anything with their life. So I think adulting comes, with a price, man. And you take pride in it. You really do. So shout out to all my friends that are adulting, that are taking care of everything that they need to, rent's paid, and people that know, no, it ain't no game out here. Life gets you. Trust me, life gets you. And a lot of my friends don't understand that unless my friends are actually, paying their rents, have responsibilities, are in an actual serious relationship, maybe have kids, or actually, working a 9 to 5, struggling paying bills, yada, 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 doing these budgeting tips that I've, been talking about to them, investing, all that other good stuff, Shout out to all of them because it's hard out here in the real world. And school never taught me this. And I love my mom, but she never really taught me this. So I kind of just jumped into it. I jumped into the pool and said, okay, well, this is it. And over time, you learn. I'm 2.5 years later, and we got cheap car insurance. Phone bill is really really cheap. We only have two lines. Just all that other stuff is, I really don't have debt. The only debt I have is really this mortgage, and I have like a little bit for medical, but whatever, I'm gonna pay that off with my Christmas bonus. So it's, life is, just gotta learn. You gotta do your research. I shout out to, Dave Ramsey has helped me out. Gary V has helped me out a lot. Just other, great entrepreneurs, great financial advisors that you can get for free. And that's what it is. This world, if you don't know anything, you can just YouTube it or you can just Google it. And it's crazy how much free information is out there on becoming an adult, adulting, paying your bills, doing this. There's these tips, there's these tricks, and everything else. So I'm going to end this up with saying, like, if you become an adult, like, just do your research, and it's a pride that is undescribable. Saying you can walk around, you kind of walk around with your head a little higher, like, hey, I'm taking care of my shit. Okay, so I appreciate it, and till next time, guys.